Sag mal schnell, lieber Papa.
Lieber Papa.
Lauter.
Lieber Papa. Wir gratulieren dir herzlich zu deinem Geburtstag. Weil du meist fort in wichtigen Sachen und oft nicht weißt, was wir dann machen, soll dir dies Buch nun all das zeigen, was hier geschah im bunten Reich. Maikäfer fliegt, dein Vater ist im Krieg, deine Mutter ist in Sommerland, abgebrannt, Maikäfer fliegt. Das aus, das Lied.
Das Radikalste ist heute gerade radikal und das Totalste ist gerade total genug.
The radio reporter didn't need to feign respect. He was himself a trusting disciple of his Führer. The reporter created a myth and then fell for it. When the unemployed Dr. Joseph Goebbels found his cult figure, he felt called by God. This man was his Messiah.
Diary entry, November 6th, 1925. And those big blue eyes like stars. He is pleased to see me. I am filled with happiness. He is there. He shakes my hand. Then he talks for half an hour with wit, irony, humor, sarcasm, earnestness, fire, passion. This man has all the qualities of a king, the born champion of the people, the future dictator.
The longing for a strong man. The yearning for strong words.
Die engsten Mitarbeiter des Führers schauen auf ihn und finden in seinem Gesicht Kraft und Stärke und Zuversicht.
Ein Mann von wahrhaft säkularer Größe.
A man of such stature needs someone who will beat the drum for him and follow him blindly. The leader and his misleader, the master and his apprentice. When little Dr. Goebbels grew fearful of rivals for his Führer's favor, a few words of praise or a paternal pat on the shoulder were enough to cheer him up. In November 1926, Hitler had sent the failed writer into the lion's den, to Red Berlin, where the National Socialist Party was languishing. Gauleiter Goebbels was given the job of seizing power. The parvenu from right in the Rhineland saw the chance of a lifetime. He set to work with ambition, agility, and total lack of scruple. He wanted one thing above all, to be noticed. As a campaigner, Goebbels quickly got down to business. As a speechmaker, he was still a little wooden.
Ein ganzes Volk fällt in die Verzweiflung. Es gäbe für Deutschland keine Hoffnung mehr, wenn wir nicht wären.
He insisted on his own newspaper, Der Angriff, the assault. Headlines and gangs of thugs, threats and enticements, agitation and violence. The Gauleiter welcomed casualties, even deaths. Martyrs have publicity value. The death cult as a propaganda weapon, this is where it began.
Leben verstehen wir Deutschen vielleicht nicht, aber sterben, das können wir fabelhaft.
In step with this anthem, the Republic marched to its ruin. The firebrand fanned the flames with which the brown-shirted nobodies set Germany on fire. He particularly hated Jews. Now he was in power, he made them suffer. They became the scapegoats for his years of failure.
10 Uhr hat der Boykott begonnen. Vollzieht sich mit einer schlagartigen Wucht, aber auch mit einer imponierenden Manneszucht.
Goebbels' use of violence against Jewish shops. It was a foretaste of what was in store for people when racial lunacy became law. The Germans were shown the regime in brilliant color. Goebbels had the seizure of power reenacted for the cinema. A facade.
Darum freut es mich heute, mit Ihnen zusammen nach altem Brauch das Richtfest feiern zu können.
His new propaganda ministry. Headquarters of brainwashing and mass seduction. From here, he launched a propaganda campaign without equal, which overran the whole country. The technology was new. The message was barbaric. Thought control.
Das ist das Geheimnis der Propaganda. Den die Propaganda erfassen will, ganz mit den Ideen der Propaganda zu durchdringen, ohne dass er überhaupt merkt. Selbstverständlich hat die Propaganda eine Absicht, aber die Absicht muss so klug und so virtuos kaschiert sein, dass der von dieser Absicht erfüllt werden soll, das überhaupt nicht bemerkt.
Here, the controller of the press brought his agents into line, and they obeyed to the letter.
Wir aber hatten, und das war in weiser Voraussicht geschehen, den deutschen Journalismus so diszipliniert, dass wir in den entscheidenden Augenblicken nicht einmal zu befehlen brauchten. Ein leiser Wink genügte, um der Presse klarzumachen, jetzt gibt's keine Diskussionen.
As a result, these journalists became servile heralds of the dictatorship. Dutifully, they anticipated the party line.
Aus Gründen der Ehre verlassen.
Warum wird aus diesem Anlass eine neue Volksbefragung in die Welt geleitet? Es weiß doch jeder Mensch, dass das deutsche Volk geschlossen hinter der nationalsozialistischen Regierung steht.
Pictures, in fact, were the most effective tool. Kilometers of film. These are Goebbels' real legacy. Pictures intended to spellbind. Columns of people. German brotherhood. Cult. Order in a chaotic world. That was the fatal promise of pictures such as these. high office for the high priest. Now as much enthralled to his own cult as its creator. The Third Reich as a continuous national holiday. The spectacle, the setting, the master of ceremonies among his followers. The opinion maker kept a watchful eye on the mood of the people, his idea of a public opinion survey. Pressing the flesh went with the job.
So. Und das freut einen, dass so viele mit dem goldenen Parteiabzeichen dabei sind. Und Sie Landarbeiter, ja. Wie viele Kinder haben Sie? 12. Da muss ich mich ja genieren.
Ja, aber nicht von einer Frau.
Wie viele haben Sie?
3.
3, das ist ja gar nichts.
No need for the minister to be embarrassed about the size of his family. He had dutifully fulfilled his quota. A family idyll, just like an advertisement. The little Rhinelander had come a long way, and he wanted everyone to see it. The Third Reich's model family. His wife Magda came from a good family. She was a good catch and a loyal party member. A couple entirely to Hitler's taste. What a model husband. With this woman at his side, he played the man of the world, who enjoyed basking in power. Status symbols of the 30s. Among other things, a yacht. Even he said it was a little expensive. The bon viveur liked traveling to Italy. In the country of the Duce, his shining example, he represented Hitler's Reich. He would have liked to be foreign minister. Back home, he accepted a country estate from the city of Berlin. The Universal Film Studios paid for the renovations. It was nothing corrupt, just a token of respect. The family home next door. A home without a father. His duty to the fatherland took precedence. Still, to the outside world, the picture of domestic bliss. But the model husband was often away from home, chasing skirt. It was typical of Goebbels to find highfalutin words for it.
Keine Moralinprediger, sondern wir sind offene Renaissance-Menschen und wollen das auch in der öffentlichen Meinung zum Ausdruck bringen.
He did just that unabashedly as the head of German film. He exploited his position shamelessly, using starlets to boost his own ego. He was an adept of the casting couch. It was always the same story. Anyone who opposed him was finished. A bone marrow disease in his childhood had crippled his right foot. He was excluded from the ranks of the able-bodied, yet hated nothing more than imperfection. A fling with this woman developed into a full-blown affair with far-reaching consequences. In a film à clé, Goebbels asked the Reich for understanding, Playing the lead, his darling.
Es fällt mir wirklich schwer, ewig. 8 lange Wochen.
Die Zeit wird Ihnen schneller vergehen, als Sie denken.
This time, Goebbels met with a frosty reception at the Berghof. To Hitler, the scandal was an embarrassment. An affair with a Czech at the time of the Sudetenland crisis was simply out of the question. Alarmed, the lover bowed to his master's orders. He valued his goodwill more than the love of any woman. His chance came unexpectedly in November 1938. On the streets of Munich, the old fighters were commemorating Hitler's failed putsch when the news came in that a German diplomat had been shot in Paris by a Jew.
November 10th, 1938. I went to the party reception at the old town hall, a huge gathering. I explained the situation to the Führer. He decided to let the demonstration continue and withdraw the police, so the Jews would feel the people's anger. The right decision. I gave the relevant orders to the police and the party. Then I spoke briefly to the party leaders. Thunderous applause. Everyone rushed straight to the telephones. Now the people would act. I was about to return to my hotel when I saw the sky was blood red. The synagogue was on fire. We had it doused only where it threatened other buildings. Apart from that, we let it burn. As I drove back to the hotel, the window panes were rattling. Bravo, bravo.
Stage-managed public rage. He had a knack for it. With this barbaric action, he marked himself as the most radical Jew-hater.
Sie sollen sich hüten. Einmal wird unsere Geduld zu Ende sein und dann wird den Juden das freche Lügenmaul gestopft werden.
An agitator like that was indispensable to the head of state. Hitler also needed him to beat the drum for war, but he kept his plans for invasion from his henchmen. In Berlin, the greatest military parade ever seen. Abroad, a minister who played the angel of peace.
Ich bin der festen Überzeugung, der Frieden in Europa muss erhalten bleiben. Ich bin weiterhin der festen Überzeugung, käme ein Krieg, er wäre das größte Unglück für die Welt. Und wie er ausgehen mag, sowohl die Sieger als die Besiegten würden nur furchtbarstes Unglück und schwerste Not dadurch ernten können.
Misfortune, when the war began, was to slip back into third place. While Hitler's Wehrmacht overran Poland, Goebbels delivered the musical accompaniment, a war of words.
So ist es, wenn die deutsche Luftwaffe zuschlägt. Sie wird auch den Schuldigsten der Schuldigen zu treffen wissen.
The innocent were the first to be hit. The armchair warrior Goebbels was impressed that they were getting down to business, without regard for reputation or international opinion. On a trip to Poland, he looked for validation of his racial hatred.
November 2nd, 1939. A trip through the ghetto. We got out and inspected everything closely. It's indescribable. They aren't humans, they're animals. This is therefore not a humanitarian task, but a surgical one. One must make incisions here, quite radical ones.
Against people like these, Goebbels' films incited hatred. Pictures of the enemy. And these are the heroes. Uncle Rommel with the family. a modern general, a careerist like Goebbels himself. Goebbels was the first to make an idol of Rommel. Victories are the best propaganda. In their wake, Goebbels' skepticism about a war on two fronts faded. His steadfast belief in Hitler's genius banished all his doubts. The civilian with no military service played the commander. He wanted to be more soldierly than his soldiers. In the Second World War, he tried to make up for everything that had been denied him in the First. His great moment came in June 1941. This time, he was informed. This time, he had an anthem at the ready. This time, he was allowed to declare war, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Hitler claimed that Moscow was plotting with Britain against Germany. A war of annihilation masquerading as a fight for freedom. Goebbels was in his element. He sold the Angriff, the war of assault, as a preventive measure. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Die entschlossene Tat des Führers ist dem alles vernichtenden Mongolensturm zuvorgekommen.
This hate campaign revealed the true face of Dr. Goebbels, a complex-ridden Herrenmensch on the rampage.
Während der Nationalsozialismus eine neue Fassung und Formung der europäischen Kultur in die Wege leitet, ist der Bolschewismus die Kampfansage des von Juden geführten internationalen Untermenschentums gegen die Kultur an sich.
This man murders with words. Tour of inspection at a prisoner of war camp. Even in the face of suffering, compassion is foreign to him. In the shadow of war, he pushes on as the plan to murder the Jews is executed.
August 20th, 1941. I'm starting to become active in the Jewish question. As the Führer has allowed me to introduce an insignia for the Jews, I think I shall be able to carry out the necessary reforms very quickly and without legal documentation. If this badge is worn by every Jew, very soon they won't dare show their faces in our town centers. They'll be pushed out of sight.
Es wäre ja sehr unklug gewesen, wenn wir vor der Machtübernahme schon den Juden ganz genau auseinandergesetzt hätten, was wir mit ihnen zu tun beabsichtigten. Das war ganz gut. Es war ganz gut und zweckmäßig, dass wenigstens ein Teil der Juden dachte, na ganz so schlimm wird's ja nicht kommen, die reden viel, aber das wird sie ja noch finden, was sie tun werden.
Goebbels knew only too well where the Jews' journey would end. He had been initiated into Hitler's plans and approved of them.
March 27th, 1942. The Jews are being deported to the east from our territory in Poland. I will not describe here the barbaric procedure which is used. Very little is left of the Jews afterwards. Roughly speaking, one can say that 60% of them must be liquidated, and only 40% can be used for work. The Jews are receiving their punishment. It may be barbaric, but they fully deserve it.
The further the tide of war turned, the more words replaced the declining impact of weapons. After Stalingrad, the new catchphrase was, readiness to make sacrifices. Now the message was in every respect total.
Das Judentum stellt eine infektiöse Erscheinung dar, die ansteckend wirkt. Deutschland jedenfalls hat nicht die Absicht, sich dieser jüdischen Bedrohung zu beugen, sondern vielmehr die, ihr rechtzeitig, wenn nötig, unter vollkommener und radikalster Ausschaltung des Judentums entgegenzutreten.
Extermination of the Jews. He almost let the truth slip out. Goebbels in the Sports Palace. He wanted public approval for a total war on the home front as well. The pinnacle of his speeches, painstakingly rehearsed. How to bring a people to the point of madness.
Henchmen behaupten, das deutsche Volk wehrt sich gegen die totalen Kriegsmaßnahmen der Regierung. Es will nicht den totalen Krieg, sagen die Engländer, sondern die Kapitulation. Wollt ihr den totalen Krieg? Nun, Volk, steh auf und Sturm bricht los.
That night Goebbels said, if I had ordered them to jump from the roof of a tall building, they'd have done it. What total war meant, people soon found out. No one could escape the call. The firestorm had long since returned to where it had first been ignited. Germany's towns were dying. He was flourishing. He thrived on crises. The firebrand knew how to bolster flagging spirits. With no victories to offer, he urged patience and perseverance. At least he dared to show his face on the streets, unlike Hitler. Publicly, Goebbels raised hopes of a miracle. Privately, he doubted if the war could still be won. It wasn't total enough for him. The commander-in-chief still disregarded the plans of his amateur strategist. His role changed rapidly after the attempted assassination of Hitler. Goebbels was ruthless in crushing the coup in Berlin. The devoted servant was now back in favor with his master, total favor. As general plenipotentiary for the mobilization of total war, Goebbels had his men comb Germany to find yet more people to send to the war. He managed just before the end. The last call up to save a murderous Reich. Old men, boys. Now at last he could be a soldier too, but the arsenal was empty. Instead of wonderful weapons, desperate lies.
Jene Divisionen, die jetzt schon zu kleinen Offensiven angetreten sind und in den nächsten Wochen und Monaten zu Großoffensiven antreten werden, werden in diesen Kampf hineingehen wie in einen Gottesdienst. Und ein Schrei der Rache wird aus ihren Kehlen emporsteigen, vor dem der Feind erblassen wird. Weit mehr, ich weiß, einmal ein Wunder
words of encouragement to the end. A visit to the front in Lubania. This madness seduced, above all, those who had never known anything else. Their trust was abused.
Dieses Deutschland ist überhaupt nicht niederzubrechen oder niederzuwerfen. Nicht nur seine Männer, auch seine Frauen, ja seine Kinder sind Helden.
Total ruin. And he prolonged it with words.
Eher würden wir uns die Hände blutig arbeiten und würden wir bis zum letzten Atemzug kämpfen, ehe dass wir zuließen, dass der Feind das deutsche Land besetzte und uns seinen Willen aufzwängt. Damit ist Berlin zur Frontstadt geworden. An den Mauern unserer Stadt wird und muss der Mongolensturm gebrochen werden. Provokateure oder aufsässige Ausländer sind sofort festzunehmen oder besser noch unschädlich zu machen. Ich bleibe mit meinen Mitarbeitern selbstverständlich in Berlin. Auch meine Frau und meine Kinder sind hier und bleiben hier.
While Stalin's soldiers were already in the heart of Berlin, in Hitler's bunker, Goebbels was closer to his master than ever. And he was desperate to follow him to the grave. That led to murder. From the idyll at home, Goebbels had his children brought to the bunker.